Coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio, this is Talking Politics. And I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit Online magazine, and your favorite conservative, Fernando Uribe. Hope you all had a wonderful week as we prepare for Memorial Day weekend. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, take a moment to appreciate the significance of Memorial Day weekend and all the sacrifices our brave men and women have given to us and to the preservation of our democracy. But of course, here, there's always a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the truth about Planned Parenthood, especially here in New Jersey. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is not blasphemy, this is not slander or defamation, these are all facts. Because what we've come to learn about Planned Parenthood, whether it's name your state, name your city or chapter, these are organizations paid with by taxpayer subsidies, right? They have their little PACs, and they can they can fundraise during election season. But believe me, they love those millions of dollars that they get from state legislatures. And here in New Jersey, certainly is no exception, where Planned Parenthood gets, tens of millions of dollars to virtue signal and to be sanctimonious as they always are. Whether, let's say, it's the office in Montclair, New Jersey, right? And listen, if you've ever gone to Planned Parenthood, whether it's there, Newark, take your pick. Of course, it's a very left-leaning organization, which has no money taking, again, taxpayer dollars and then in turn using it in campaigns, which I don't think that's what the money's for. They may dance around it for tax purposes, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to creating a PAC, a political action committee. But we all know that that's what taxpayer dollars are being used for, to push the candidates that push their agendas. But let's have a little bit of education here. Again, the professor wants to have class, even though it's the end of the semester already. But you know what? Let's go through what Planned Parenthood does and how they've been able to get away with it all of these years. So really, let's talk about a 5-step method to how to create a repeat customer in the eyes of Planned Parenthood. So for example, introduce sexual grooming to young, impressionable children. Ladies and gentlemen, again, and I can't say this enough because I'm really the only journalist talking about this in New Jersey media. At the end of the day, kids are impressionable. Kids are stupid. They just are. Think back to when you were 5, 6, 7. Even as you entered adolescence, you were pretty dumb. You had no idea about the real world. And quite frankly, you weren't listening to your parents. You were probably listening to your friends or your social circle. And again, this is even back when I was a kid, or even as I entered adolescence. There was no internet. There was no social media. So yes, I'm dating myself just a little bit. But now with the plethora of social media platforms and apps, as well as everything that you can watch on the internet, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, take your pick. Planned Parenthood has done a really, really good job in sort of cultivating this message to children, right? Because they are young and impressionable. Now, also, for example, offering abortion and profiting from the unexpectedly pregnant girls who used their, quote, effective sex ed materials and contraception. Let me be very clear about something, ladies and gentlemen, because as we all know, when you move away to college, for some of us that have done that have dormed away, I had the luxury of doing that at Rutgers University in New Brunswick. Yes, there were clinics, maybe not a Planned Parenthood clinic on campus, but you knew where to go if you needed to buy contraceptives or if you needed to have a procedure done because of, let's say, one night of crazy drinking and risque sexual behaviors. Well, we all know sometimes, long before Plan B pills were ever introduced, ladies and gentlemen, you had to make a conscious decision with your partner and find out, if she was amenable to having a procedure done. But Planned Parenthood really has done an exceptional job in making sure that, they want to hide behind, giving out resources and pamphlets and other materials for people who visit their offices, and at the same time, of course, offer multitudes of different contraception. Now, let me just say this, because I know that many feminists are, probably get a little pissy and menstrual when I say this, but contraceptives aren't available and aren't readily accessible. I get that. Yes, I know that feminists want to talk about, Viagra is covered by insurance plans and Viagra is offered, but when it comes to women's bodies, contraceptives aren't readily available. That's true, and I understand that, listen, birth control isn't just to make sure you don't get knocked up, but I understand birth control also serves other other avenues. To some aspect of skincare, helping to regulate your menstrual cycle. I understand all that. It comes in handy. There's no question. And birth control is necessary. But what Planned Parenthood is trying to ultimately do is just make sure that, hey, let's just give out birth control at taxpayers' expense. Now, part of me that is compassionate to some extent, and you all know that I can be, at the end of the day, folks, and for the ladies out there, it's your responsibility. At some point, it's nice to sort of rely on government services and this and that, but, again, this is my own opinion. But I know plenty of people that don't like their tax dollars going to Planned Parenthood. Right here in Trenton, in New Jersey, millions of dollars are given every year to multiple Planned Parenthood clinics all throughout the state. And I know plenty of homeowners and taxpayers that say to me, Fernando, this is just wrong. I don't like my taxpayers going to this. And that's a fair argument. And again, it doesn't make them sexist or feminist or, misogynist or anti-feminist. Of course not. Give me a break. If someone just feels that, I don't really care to have my tax dollars pay for your contraceptives, well, that's their prerogative to think that way. It doesn't make them vile or merit any vitriol against them. That's nonsense. It really, really is. It really annoys me to no end when you want to go off on these tirades as it pertains to contraceptives. Again, I personally would prefer my tax dollars not go to it. That's your responsibility, right? It's your body, right? Well, okay, well, take care of it then. Don't take care of it at the expense of my tax dollars. Let's also sort of move on to rebranding at some point sexual grooming as sexual education. Well, folks, again, this is where Planned Parenthood and their political action committees love to join in with the pronoun people, right? The alphabet army, right? The LGBTQ plus, minus, multiplication sign, division sign, asterisk. I can't even keep track anymore about, the LGBT acronyms that are out there. And believe me, next month when it's Pride Month, it's going to be even more insufferable with all the commercialization and everything with corporate America acquiescing to the alphabet army. But what's interesting is, though, when it comes to the sexual education debate that keeps going on, again, it's Planned Parenthood wanting to have it both ways. They want to have the liberty to talk about whatever they want, but at the same time, they don't want to be held accountable when it comes to our tax dollars. And again, this is something that, people see through. And this is something that people find in terms of Planned Parenthood, once again, their ongoing lack of transparency. And of course, the last thing in really helping to at least produce repeat customers when it comes to Planned Parenthood is, again, giving women, women, biological women, because those are the breeders, okay, giving her contraception to avoid pregnancy again. So pretty much repeat the steps, the aforementioned steps I just mentioned to you, as many times as needed to maximize profit. That, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, is the best way to describe Planned Parenthood. Keep dishing out this rhetoric, keep pushing, women to keep using contraceptives and everything, which is, again, there's a health component to it, folks. Last thing we need is unnecessary pregnancies and more babies being born that cannot be taken care of. And then in some instances, unfortunately, get aborted for one reason or another. But this is the thing where Planned Parenthood needs to show a little more restraint and a little more consistency. Listen, it's 2022. No one's ever going to be promoting abstinence and saying, well, this is what schools should be advocating for. And this is what parents, when they go to PTA meetings or school board meetings, should be demanding that we teach abstinence. It's not realistic, folks. It's 2022. Okay, kids are having sex, maybe even at ages younger than you even thought. Okay? Maybe even kids are, maybe before they even enter adolescence. I know that's crazy to think, but it happens. Okay? So, promoting abstinence isn't something that's realistic. But what's unrealistic, at least, in my eyes as well, is this idea that, Planned Parenthood wants to keep on virtue signaling and standing up, right? It's funny when, they want to stand up for women when it suits them, okay? They want to push the legislature in Trenton to get more money because they want money. They want that paper from the legislature, right? When it comes to, funding their clinics. But when it comes to standing up for women or biological women, they won't do that, right? We all hear the debate about, boys playing women's sports or acquiescing to the LGBT community, again, plus, minus, whatever, or even being all woke with whatever they want to advocate for. And I get it that now there's this hysteria about abortion rights maybe being minimized. No, folks, abortion is not going to be eliminated nationally. It's just going to be relegated down to the states according to what that leak references with the U.S. Supreme Court. Again, the majority opinion is still to be written yet by Justice Samuel Alito. Actually, as a matter of fact, a New Jersey native, coincidentally. But we'll see what happens. It just means that that decision will be relegated down to the states. And at the end of the day, if you don't live in a state where abortion's outlawed or, minimized or restricted, then what do you care? So you know what, to the Susan Chungs of the world, right, that works at Planned Parenthood and also heads up an insufferable feminist group like Women for Progress, right? I mean, folks, if you can ever envision a bunch of do-nothing housewives sitting around having martinis and mimosas, right, trying to figure out which one of their husband's credit cards to max out, that's essentially what those groups are like. And, of course, these are women that work for Planned Parenthood, of course. Whether it's that chapter in Montclair or others around the state of New Jersey, they love getting their money, but by the same token, they don't like sticking up for women, in certain instances. But again, folks, abortion rights, you can have all the meltdowns you want. You can have all the pissing matches you want. You can menstruate. You can get your panties in a bunch. Here in New Jersey, not one reproductive freedom is being limited here. So for all the women having meltdowns, chill out. Again, you're just having a tantrum about not being able to kill babies in states that you don't live in. Again, that Supreme Court decision will be rendered probably sometime next month. It'll be relegated to the states, and guess what? Let the states govern themselves, right? Remember the 10th Amendment? It's part of the Bill of Rights, right? That glorious document known as the Constitution. Maybe you've read it. Maybe you've heard of it. Well, again, practice what you preach when it comes to talking about rights and everything else. Know your rights or don't talk about them at all. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. In the latest edition of the 5-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, which you can listen to every week via www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson, is the distinguished chairwoman of the HCDO, the Hudson County Democratic Organization, and councilwoman at large in Jersey City, Amy DeGise. We spoke for over an hour on a multitude of topics, and here's some highlights for your consideration. As her term comes to an end as being the chairwoman of the HCDO, I talked with Amy about her fondest memories serving as the chairwoman of the Hudson County Democratic Organization. Let's check out what she had to say.
Certainly, as it's weird. It's 4 years have flown by. Feels like yesterday we were in that sweaty, cafeteria at Kearney High School. Again, no offense to Mayor Al Santos, he's a friend of the show. Love Al, but not a great day there in June in that heated kitchen, as they say, the Kearney High School cafeteria. But it was a joyous day for you to be named chair, to be elected chair that day. You've done a great job, in my opinion. Certainly, you were very active during the Menendez for Senate campaign in later that year. You've been very open about supporting, House candidates like Alvio Ceres, certainly now with his successor, Robert Menendez Jr., and in general, just, supporting candidates locally, and, of course, you running for council person as well at large. As the term comes to an end, what are some of your fondest memories of being chair of arguably one of the more visible and very vocal Democratic organizations in New Jersey?
Really? Oh, man. I enjoyed a lot of the local building up, like identifying get out the vote people, designing campaign strategies around that, whether it was walk schedules or targeted ads. Really enjoyed that aspect of it. As someone who wants to be in elected office, it was interesting to see and have to coordinate the back end of it. So it was always, fun stuff and really good lessons. I liked working with constituents on like building caucuses and committees. The fondest one is the LGBTQ caucus that I feel, really kind of took off running and is dominated by, residents, not just elected officials, which I think is pretty cool. Enjoyed the statewide stuff, getting to build a relationship with the governor and his office and having a line to him and figuring out some, big level things and how we can execute them here in Hudson County. So those will be the things that, I'll definitely miss doing, but will also give me a lot of extra time.
Secondly, we discussed what's in the agenda for the City Council in Hudson County's largest city, as, of course, the budget is still being debated, as well as crime and public safety. Let's hear what Amy had to say about it.
But at the city level, though, does the fiscal year still fall on June 30th? Like, is the City Council still working on the budget, or is that so it's the same time?
is at the end of the fiscal year, there's always I don't want to say leftover monies, but there's always some reserves that can get pulled from. But, in order to keep people, employed and not, scared that departments are going to get shut down entirely and city services will end, it's best to get it done for July 1st. We've been meeting with different directors, and, there was a bit of reorganization with some departments in Jersey City on council priorities, what we would like to see the budget money go to, what some new funding streams may be, what some funding streams that may no longer be. So we're all getting the preparation of it now. And again, it's kind of, these are the department priorities. If you don't like them, speak now, because they don't want to see a hold up there either. And it's been going well. I think like for myself and Councilman Gilmore, who are new, we have a lot of questions. So I'm really appreciative that, the administration and Council President Joyce Waterman is really open about us meeting with people and, just small meetings or one-on-one. So we'll be in the same boat for June 30th, but I think we'll have a good budget to pass. I think the mayor's been really clear and transparent about his initiatives and where he would like to spend money. Talking about some raises for assistant directors to make sure we're attracting and maintaining good talent here. So there'll be no surprises, or at least I hope there's no surprises, but it doesn't seem like that would be the case.
Once again, it was a very informative episode with HCDO Chairwoman and Councilwoman at Large in Jersey City, Amy DeGise. And you can check out the episode once again in its entirety by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/talkinthehudson. You can download the episode and listen to it anywhere, anytime from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. And here's some local stories for your consideration. Let's start off in the Mile Square city of Hoboken. And once again, a special thank you to John Hines from the Hudson County View for his report on this story. Now, apparently, 3 Hoboken 5th Ward residents are filing a notice of an intention to recall Councilman Phil Cohen. Folks, I have to tell you, when I read this story, I just pissed myself laughing, because if you've ever met Phil Cohen, talk about a charisma vacuum of this guy, okay? And now, again, this is what's really interesting. The recall committee put out a statement, quote, "We believe we warrant a council person who prioritizes our 5th Ward community and interest, one who is more open and transparent, welcoming of discussion and diverse discourse, empathetic to different socioeconomic backgrounds, and above all, focused on growing our neighborhood's long-term safety, affordability, and overall quality of life." There are several examples to support this recall, but fundamentally, we believe our current council person has not represented us as his constituents. Instead, he has prioritized special interests before our town. Simply stated, we demand real representation in City Hall. Now, the committee consists of Perry Bellafor, Rebecca Cohen, no relation to Phil, obviously, and Barry Grossman. Now, Bellafor is a longtime political opponent of Mayor Ravi Bala, who received a $51,000 settlement from the city in 2017 for getting escorted out of a 2015 council meeting at the direction of then Council President Bala. Now, of course, he declined to comment. In addition to that, shortly after the story was published by John Hines, Rob Horowitz, a spokesman for Cohen, called the effort a waste of time and an abuse of the intent of the recall process. Well, folks, I've talked about Phil Cohen before, and let's sort of get the obvious out of the way. Had Peter Cunningham decided to not run for another term, again, he wanted to spend more time with his family, and rightfully so, good for him, right? Spend time with your family, your kids, other members of your immediate family. Hey, listen, working in government is stressful. Okay, and the only reason Phil Cohen even won is because Peter Cunningham chose not to run again. We all know Phil Cohen being that sort of perpetual campaigner, right? He ran against Anthony Romano when Romano was running for freeholder off the line because apparently the HCDO had a falling out with him briefly and endorsed Phil Cohen. Anybody care to remember that election? Yeah, Stick Romano smoked Philly, okay? And ever since then, he's been the perpetual campaigner. So, of course, hey, he got lucky. Peter Cunningham decided not to run, and of course, we got stuck with Phil Cohen, the charisma vacuum in Hoboken. Now, again, listen, recall efforts have been very, very rare in Hudson County politics. Okay, it happened back in the 90s with Albio Ceres and then Mayor Anthony DeFino, but other recall efforts have fallen relatively short. Now, again, I don't want to discourage anybody. I don't want to be overly critical, but listen, if Hoboken residents can stir up enough of an uproar, they can get this done. From what people talking to me on the street and people off the record, Phil Cohen's useless in City Hall. Okay? And no, Phil, that's not slander, that's not defamation, that's not me being, bombastic. It's true, bro. Like, ask around. The only reason you got reelected is riding Ravi Bala's coattails. Okay? It's not like you have a leg to stand on intellectually or credibility-wise, so let's be honest here. Now, can this recall committee get the necessary votes and signatures in? That remains to be seen. It's sometimes a very limited process, but we'll find out what happens. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, nothing made me happier than seeing this clown be at the forefront of a possible recall attempt in the Mile Square city of Hoboken. On a lighter note, let's move to Jersey City, and a special thank you to Elizabeth Morrill from the Jersey Times for her report on this story. And the Jersey City Jazz Festival, now in its 9th year, will indeed take place once again on Saturday, June 4th and Sunday, June 5th in the Powerhouse Arts District, which is located in the downtown section of Jersey City. Now, it's a free event produced by Riverview Jazz in cooperation with the Exchange Place Alliance. It'll feature 14 bands on 2 stages, plenty of food trucks, and a full bar. On June 5th, the festival will coincide with the Jersey Award Tour operated by Bike JC. Now, according to Riverview Jazz director Brian Benninghoff, put out a statement this week, we couldn't be more excited about this year's festival. There's going to be a real JC vibe party. The talent is top-notch, and it's a free event for the community. Thank you to sponsors, donors, and partners. Now, this year's festival will feature no shortage of talent. For example, guitar aficionados will be in for a treat with an array of virtuoso-type performances, including world-renowned Julian Lage, June 5th at 4 p.m., modern gypsy jazz artist Gonzalo Barraga, June 5th at 2 p.m., as well as flamenco master Andreas Arnold, June 4th at 4 p.m., and the guitar-driven Roots Spiritual Ensemble, Walter Parks and the Unlawful Assembly on June the 5th at 1 p.m. Folks, I am such a devoted fan of jazz music. I listen to it at home when I'm grading exams or term papers, or when I'm preparing for this show or my other shows, Talking the Hudson, on Blog Talk Radio, or Real Talk on Monday nights via Jersey First. It's soothing, it's therapeutic, and it's just wonderful to listen to. For anyone who lives in Hudson County, trust me, I'm sure you all listen to at some point 88.3 FM on your radio dial. It's relaxing. Let me tell you something. If I'm ever having a bad day, or reading my Twitter feed, or reading my Instagram feed, or my Facebook news feed, and just getting absolutely annoyed with the toxicity by liberals, the left, and all the woke nonsense that we're inundated with every single day, jazz just puts me at ease. So coming up again on Saturday, June 4th, and Sunday, June 5th, go to downtown Jersey City because it is a festival you definitely don't want to miss. And after the last 2 years, ladies and gentlemen, of being either quarantining, being stuck inside, being limited of where to go, where to be at, who you can be around, who you hang out with, whatever the case may be because of COVID-19, it seems like it's behind us. And you know what? If you can go outside, get some fresh air, talk to neighbors, talk to people, forget about politics just for the weekend. Just listen to great musicians because if anything else, folks, supporting the arts is something, especially after COVID, is something we should all be doing with pride and distinction and some enthusiasm, folks, because it is indeed, we learn so much through the arts, not just with music, with painting, with artwork, with poetry, every other artistic form of expression. It's something you don't want to miss. And believe me, after these last 2 years, you definitely don't want to miss this jazz festival in downtown Jersey City. And that's our show for this week. To check out, once again, all of the excellent content brought to you by the Hudson Media Group, please go to their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com, as well as www.livestream.com/hmgtv. Don't forget to check out the Hudson Media Group also on their YouTube page. Make sure you like them on Facebook, and of course, follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. And you can always check out all my episodes from the 5-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, by once again going to www.blogtalkradio.com/TalkingTheHudson. Again, episodes are available to listen to anywhere at any time from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. I'll continue bringing you those exclusives that you don't see anywhere else in Hudson County media with executives from town halls, council people, commissioners, activists, journalists, and much more. You can always rely on Talking the Hudson, folks, every single week on Blog Talk Radio. Don't forget to like Talking Politics right here with Hudson Media Group on Facebook, and of course follow it on Instagram at Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe. Also check out my own Instagram at The Amazing Professor, and also follow me on Twitter at NoFilterUribe, at NoFilter URIBE. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. Special programming note, ladies and gentlemen, it is Memorial Day weekend coming up. Please party responsibly. Let's enjoy it again after these really torturous last 2 years. Let's hang out with family and friends, but let's not forget the significance of Memorial Day. It's not just about barbecues and drinking with friends. It's about honoring all of those that sacrificed so much for our country. So everyone, please have a safe Memorial Day. I'll see you here next time at the Hudson Media Group. And as always, thank you so much for watching.